Hello everyone, welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, your host, founder at Online Seller UK. And today I've got Brent with me, and we'll be talking about Amazon advertising, and especially we'll be talking about impression share report. So, Brent, welcome to our podcast.
Hello, hello. Nice to be back again.
Yeah, excellent. So, Brent, so do you want to introduce yourself, introduce the topic, and then we can take it from there?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Brent, founder of Amz Pathfinder. We're a Amazon advertising agency with a couple other ancillary services that are related to ads. Been around for, gosh, almost 6.5, 7 years now. And the topic of this particular episode, this short session here, is basically this thing called the search term impression share report. And if that sounds like some kind of nerdy stuff, well, it is. It's been around for about a year. It was released in March of last year, I think, but it doesn't get nearly enough attention. So I wanted to kind of highlight it briefly here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you're going to share your screen and show us some things around this report. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, sure. Now this is an actual report from one of our clients, but of course we have kind of neutered the data, so nothing identifiable is able to be seen. So I should have it shared now. And this is
Yeah.
just an example. This is data from January of this year. We're recording this in early 2022. And essentially what this is a search term report, but with some additional data layered on top of it that relates to what's called search term impression rank and search term impression share. So it has all the other things. Like if I scroll over here, you can see, it's blanked out here, but it has the campaigns, ad groups, portfolios, and then actual metrics for things like spend, cost per click. That's all very useful for helping determine the utility of this part here. But really the key is these columns D and E. And I know going over a spreadsheet on a podcast is not always the most exciting. That's why I've highlighted them green here to make it a little bit easier to see. So what is this report actually used for? At the agency level, we use it for two different things. Identifying areas where we already have a high amount of impression share when we're ranking really well, and areas where we have a low amount and we need to increase our spend. And we use these metrics that I just showed, like the spend and ACoS and everything, to determine if these targets are valuable or if they're not valuable to chase after. So basically, you have a search term, it's in a campaign, you're bidding against it, and if you have what's called number one search term impression rank, that means on that given time period, this report can be done in a summary. So you could do it for a full month or 2 months, or you could do daily. So for that day or that combined time period, you are the person in the ad auction who had the most of all the other people bidding in terms of the impression share. I'll give you a good example from this sheet. I'm actually going to blow this up a little bit to make it easier to see even. Let's go to 160%. There you go. So search term number one, obviously, hidden for privacy reasons, but this is real data. So we are number one in impression rank, and our impression share is 44.86%. I know what keyword this is from this account, and this is a keyword we spend thousands of dollars on a week because it's very important for this client, and they're a large account. Now, this means that we have 44.86% of the impressions in this given time period, the 1st to the 31st of January, for this keyword. And we're number one. So that means that number two might have, 25% of the search term impression share. Number three might have 15.6 or something. I don't know. The point is they have less than us. And you can see this is the case for some of these other search terms that we have in here. And you'll notice some of this data is duplicated. This is at the account level. So it doesn't actually matter what campaign it's in. The data it shows you for each search term is the same in every instance. So there's a lot of duplication. Now, a counterexample, row 15 here, search term impression rank, we're 15. So we're not even close to the top 10. And right now, I don't know what keyword this is because I didn't look at it before I edited the information, but we're only 1.41% of the impression share. So we're grabbing a tiny sliver of the market right now for this keyword. Now, the question is it a keyword that we want to chase? Is the performance okay? Should we go after it? Those are things that are answered by internal dialogues at the company, or in our case, conversations with clients about what's valuable to rank for and everything. But the real purpose of this report is establish how you're doing against others in the space for a given time period. And this is only sponsored products. So, it's what most people spend most of their money against. But it's just one ad type of the three. And also to see what the potential ceiling is for that. If you ever have, for example, like this one here, you can see we're 72% of the market for this. that's probably a term that's a lot lower value or lower volume. And I know for some of our brand terms on this same report, I saw that we had 98% of the search term impression share. So we were basically dominating, but that's our brand term. So we kind of should be. It's not really as useful of a discussion.
Mhm. Okay, no, that's cool. So, a couple of questions, I think, if I may. So, you mentioned that some of the impression share, the one at the top, it's 44%. So,
Correct.
so as a result of this, we'd want to 44% is quite a bit. So we must be
Yeah.
getting considerable amount of sales through that.
Yes.
So now, are we saying we continuously invest more on that? Do we also check cost of sales on that? So what are the implications of seeing that impression share?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think as we talked about on another episode, budget allocation really starts from the top down from your objectives. But for this particular term, I can tell the story because I know what it is. This is a product for which we are very dominant for in the market in this particular like sub niche or subcategory. And so us continuing to spend a lot of money on it is not only very profitable because the ACoS for it is quite good. So we do make money on ads for it, but it also ensures that we maintain like a dominant position. This in related terms have very high search term impression shares. It may be that you sometimes run this report and you find a search term like this and you say, well, we have 50% of this market, but we are losing money on it. And in terms of ACoS, and maybe we should be looking at other terms that are longer tail or more downstream from it instead. So it could serve as a detection for you overspending or overinvesting in a term too. Both things could happen, I think.
Yeah, so we are talking, this is somewhat, we are in a mature position of
Very
even
mature position.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're like I would say one of the market leaders, if not the market leader for the subcategory for this particular product. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's a handful of keywords in the report. The larger amount of spend you have, like let's actually look. I think I have it in here.
Hmm.
If we scroll the way over, this is one keyword, and this you can see the spend is 3,700 for the
Yeah,
month, and 55,000 sales. Pretty high cost per click, but the ACoS is 6.7. So, obviously it's doing very well. It's very
yeah,
strong keyword for us, but that's because of our market position, our tens of thousands of reviews, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
every keyword is going to look like this. Many of them, just a couple $100 to spend, and maybe you'll be 25% of the market or something, but it gives you a benchmark.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So if we flip that on the product launch position, then,
Mm-hmm.
so I think we need to look at impression share in a different way. So if the product is launched and if you are getting impression share like in your row 20, which is 6.3%, for example,
Mm-hmm.
so do you suggest that we, irrespective of cost of sales, we invest more on that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I actually hadn't considered that angle for this podcast, but yeah, this is a good one. So, search term number 19, I have changed the name to here, but yeah, we're number 6 for search term impression rank, which means we're in top 10.
Yeah.
We're getting a slice of the market for sure, but our impression share is about 6.5%. I think if I saw that for a keyword that was really pivotal for a launch, I would want to continue to increase it. And then something like ACoS might not be our top consideration there. We'd be looking at how much market impression share are we grabbing? What is the cost per click? Can we sustain that cost per click over time? Will our conversion rate for that product improve with time such that it'll make the ACoS affordable for us or profitable even? Those are all good questions to ask yourself, I think, as you're going through the launch phases. But this does give us a good indication, doesn't it? Well, we have 6.3% of the market for impression share this month. We have a lot of room to keep going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I see another column now. I'm seeing columns, so it's naturally I'm raising some questions as
They
as
stand
I.
out, don't they?
Yeah, they do. So in your G column, you've got so exact and a phrase match, right? So
Right, right.
match type. So is there any relation between the impression share and these match types?
Well, the easy answer is no, and
Okay.
the reason is because this information is only at an account level, so it's not going to tell you. In this campaign, you had 5% of the impression share, and this one you had 7, and this one you had 8, but they're all the same search term. It's at an
Mhm.
account level, so it's just saying any instance where this search term shows up, the data here in columns D and E is the same. That's actually why these ones here. if I highlight these four, except for this one in the middle, these are all the same thing. I think these are all the same search term. They just show up because I've changed the the columns here,
Yeah,
but
yeah, of course.
these all show up in different campaigns.
Hmm.
But it's the same term, hence they have 1 and 2.22% or whatever.
Hmm.
So the data just repeats. I think you can see it down here again, actually, the same term.
Okay.
So the match type is useful because the match type is keyed into the individual campaigns and ad groups, and that's why that information is still in there. So really, it's best to think of this as a search term report with just 2 additional columns, because that's essentially what it is. It's still giving us the performance, the match type, the portfolios, etc.
Absolutely. No, that's good. So I think that's a good bit of insight just to focus on the search term impression rank. So
Yes.
yeah, so if you've got any other things to add to it, yeah, I'll wait to hear from you um, on this impression share itself. So we obviously discussed about the launch period and the mature period. So the
Mhm.
strategy may be different. and
Absolutely.
and like you said, if search in search terms, if it is pivotal to the particular campaign, we continuously invest on that. Um and sometimes I get asked question, when there is a very, very competitive product, like for example keto supplement, or any other supplement. It's very competitive, both
Hmm.
in the US and the UK market. um then the question is, how much should I invest? That's always the question, because the ad may be negative in
Right.
terms of return.
Right.
So so what's your comment on that area?
Oh, that's a really tough question for multiple reasons. One of which is that we know that year over year CPCs in many categories have gone up. Not
Yeah.
all, but many categories have gone up. Some of our clients, we've definitely seen that in our data and larger data sets. So it may be unprofitable to even try to advertise for some of these head terms that are very aggressive markets, let's say. So I guess the question is, do you have repeat purchases? How can you
Yeah.
increase average order value? Do you have other methods for sending traffic to that product that are legit and that are external to Amazon? I wouldn't rely on advertising as my only pillar to support my business on there, because that's what a lot of businesses are doing. And we've audited many accounts and seen instances where companies are trying to spend their way into the top position, and it's not 2018 anymore. Amazon doesn't work like that. So I would advise against that. I think you're probably better off deploying that same money on other targeting types, other keywords, other creative types on Amazon, or even deploying it with off Amazon advertising methods or promotional methods.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think a lot of people do have to, unfortunately, depend on advertising a lot, because of that positioning of ads is so high,
Yeah.
and very strategically it's been positioned. So I think a lot of us are in a position where there is negative return on the ads. But you just mentioned before that if there is a repeat purchase or not. um
Because then you'll get the true lifetime value of a product. So it might be worth, you might look at the ACOS and say, oh, it's 65%. We're losing money on every one of these.
yeah.
But if you have better information about, okay, this person will then go on to buy 6 of these, the math looks very different. And that's essentially what a lot of PPC is just simple math and figuring out the true value of a click or the true value of a sale. Because it's true, if that person signs up for repeat, maybe they do a subscribe and save, they have $1 or $2 off, but they buy 6 of them over the course of a year. Well, hey, that's great. So for some consumables, that make sense. For durable products, it changes the story a little bit. But yet again, those might have a high ticket, like the products I was showing off in that report. A lot of those have a high ticket, in excess of $100 US. Some cases, several $100s US. So yeah, it's easy to get at a lower A cost, and the conversion rate's lower, but at the same time, we can afford to spend more and have a higher cost per click.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Right. So I think we've come to an end, I think. So let's wrap up. So is there anything else you want to add before we close?
The only other thing I would say is everyone go look at Amazon's quarter 4 financial results. They broke out advertising as a separate line item, I think, for the first time, and it's
Yeah.
quite shocking. So, yeah, go check that out.
Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, needless to say, if somebody is to find you, Brent, so where's the best place to get to you and talk to you?
Yeah, sure. I think I said this last time too because I'm trying something new. But if you go to brent.bike, just like the URL is literally .bike instead of .com, it kicks you over to my calendar and you can schedule a call with me there. Or if you just want to say hello, you can email hello@amzpathfinder.com. Find us on LinkedIn. We're pretty active there. So any of those places work.
Excellent. Thanks again, Brent, for your time. I'll speak to you soon. All the
No
best.
problem. Thanks. See ya.